Hi, this is Jake with Tier 3 Tactical. Today we're talking about the 8-week race prep program for Hyrox athletes. This training program is built for those trying to compete in their first Hyrox race. It is 8 weeks in length, split up into parts 1 and parts 2, with both being completely released. So we're going to talk about all 8 weeks of the program today and talk about how you should execute this program prior to your Hyrox event. This fitness program is going to be on the same schedule for the entire 8 weeks. It's 5 workouts per week with 2 rest days. And of note, I've built this program to challenge most athletes. So if you've done these kind of events before or done things like CrossFit or other functional fitness or hybrid training type events, then this is going to work well for you. It's easily scalable down for newer athletes, whether that be shorter workouts or lower loads, as you'll see. But let's get right into the program. The first thing we should do is review what an actual Hyrox event looks like. It's important to note that for those who aren't as familiar with Hyrox, it is a long event, and there's all types of different versions you can do. You can do men's and women's, and you can do pro division. You can do teams. So there's a level for athletes of all types and all experience levels. But what we're going to talk about real quickly is what I'll call the RX version, or the standard Hyrox race. In the graphic you can see on the screen, it starts with a 1K run. It moves into a 1K ski erg, and then back to a 1K run. This pattern is repeated with next a 50 meter sled push, run, 50 meter sled pull, run, and then you do 80 meters of a burpee broad jump. That brings you to about the halfway point. You follow up with a 1K run, a 1K row with a C2 rower normally, and then a run again. You're going to then move to a 200 meter farmer's carry, a 1K run, 100 meter sandbag lunge with a 1K run, and then finishing up with 100 wall ball shots. You can see the weights are pretty significant. I mean, the sled for the pro men's 445 pounds, for the push and the pulls 335 pounds, and then it kind of goes down from there. The farmer's carry weight is 140 total for the pro men, and then down to about 70 for the women. Sandbag lunge is 66 down to 25, and then wall ball is looking at a 20-pound wall ball down to basically a 10-pound for the women's division. So it's a very challenging race, and most athletes will find that this is between 80 to 90 minutes, unless you're very fit, in which case it might be closer to 70 or even underneath that if you're a very good or very fit athlete. Before we get into the specifics of a Hyrox event and the programming for it, let's talk about kind of some of the science behind the Hyrox race. And that will really kind of inform you as to why I've written this 8-week program this way. It is worth noting that this program for Hyrox athletes is not endorsed by them. This is simply how I would train a Hyrox athlete to get ready for their race. So this isn't anything to do with them. This is just something that I've come up with to help folks who want to train for that type of event. But as we can see, if we're talking about 80 to 90 minutes in total length, this is clearly going to be an aerobic powered event. You've seen from my other articles on Zone 2 or anaerobic training that even anything longer than 40 to 50 seconds, your aerobic energy system is providing the vast majority of your energy. The mini workouts, your sled pushes, wall balls, sled pulls, burpees, things of that nature are certainly more anaerobic, but that does not mean that that's something you should really focus on your training. It is something that needs to be in your training, but the vast majority of this is an aerobic endurance activity. So the other common thing that you'll notice is that most of these movements require a lot of lower body strength and endurance. You need to have a reasonable amount of upper body strength and endurance, but wall balls are probably the biggest part that's going to tax that, because everything else is kind of lower body centric. Research that I've covered in previous articles that I'll link to in the description below has kind of indicated that Currently, the thinking is that higher rep activities for your lower body do help improve muscular endurance, which is what you need for a Hyrox competition. It doesn't work that way in your upper body. So the best way to really work on that is, one, build a good aerobic capacity, and then two, work on building your strength, and then focus a little bit on higher reps. And then for the lower body, you can really hit bigger sets, which, as you'll see, is exactly kind of what we've done in this program. Now let's get into the program. Some basic information before we get to the specifics of each workout. This is a 5-day split with 2 planned rest days. Each session, you should expect 60 to 80 minutes in the gym. And that's going to kind of depend on how long you like to rest, how long you like to warm up for. It's worth noting that, like I said before, this is going to challenge a very good athlete. So you should expect, if you're newer at this or you haven't done this type of workout before, that you should modify it. I've included a link to an article on how to scale and modify workouts in there. So make sure you check out the article directly to find that. And I encourage you also to take an extra rest day every now and then if you need to. This shouldn't be like a daily, or I shouldn't say a weekly thing, but if you can't warm up, you're super sore, and you're trying to work the same muscle groups, you need an extra rest day. Just use a bit of common sense there. Now let's move into the first week of this program. Let's get into week 1, cycle 1. So you can see there's 2 rest days, 5 work days. This is kind of a testing week. These workouts are meant to be read top to bottom. So on Monday, you've got a warm-up for 5 minutes, 5-minute rest. Then one of my favorite aerobic capacity tests. This tests your running and 2K rowing. I like to pair these two because most runners are not great rowers and vice versa. So this really gives you, I think, a excellent overview of your true aerobic capacity. You're going to do this for combined total time and then cool down walk. The next day is a zone 2 day. Wednesday is more of a standard work capacity test where I have you working with max wall ball throws for 4 minutes, resting 4 minutes, and then doing max inverted barbell rows. And this is basically a ring row, but you're just using a barbell hung at your normal bench press height to pull your chest towards it. These are both good muscular endurance and strength tests. Moving on to Friday, you can see it's back squat, strict press, and then a 20-minute longer race prep WOD or workout of the day. And this is just going to kind of cover some of the movements and how it feels to move between muscular endurance work and then that 1K run. Saturday, you've got a zone 2/5 run. You're going to run zone 2 for a majority, and then you're going to hit 10 minutes at max pace to finish up that week. In week 2, we can see kind of a start to the true programming for this. You can see that each day has, it's clearly kind of obvious which workouts do what for your body. We start out with strength work on a Monday with rowing and farmer's carry. That's going to be grip and then back work, as well as a little bit of arms. You're then going to take a nice break, and then you're going to do a Tabata treadmill run. These are one of my favorite anaerobic workouts. They're backed by a ton of research. What you should expect is to set your treadmill pace to about your 5K race pace, set the incline to 10%, and just hold on. Now, do be careful. You can become incredibly tired, and it is very difficult. But if you do it right, you can get a lot of benefit from it. Tuesday is a zone 2 jog using nasal breathing to check that you're on zone 2. Check out the article for more information on why this is important and what this really means. You're moving on to more of a upper body work and then lower body sled work on Wednesday, rest, and then strength work on Friday as well. Focusing on another long AMRAP, 20 minutes of wall balls, run, ski erg, and row. You're going to repeat those movements for 20 minutes for as many reps as you can possibly do. And then lastly, on Saturday, that's a zone 2 run with a little longer duration, moving into 10 minutes of max pace running like last week. Now, weeks 3 and 4 continue on in this similar vein. They increase in a little bit of volume with the lifts, a little bit more work on the running, a little faster on the Tabatas, and just in general, we're making it a little more difficult so you continue to make progress. remember that this is still fairly far out from your actual competition, so it doesn't have to look exactly like a workout. That's one of the biggest mistakes you'll see in other programs, that they just have athletes endlessly practice the exact movements and then the exact race. Well, that's okay when you get close to it, as you'll see, but it's not good when you're trying to build a general base of fitness. So that means that this first cycle is wrapped up after week 4, and then we're going to keep the same training schedule and things like that, but we're going to change the movements, as you'll see in cycle 2. Looking at our next cycle, that's going to start us on week 5. Monday, if we're looking at it in detail, we've now moved to a seated dumbbell press at 2 rear, which is a term I like to use a lot if I don't want to use percentage-based work. That's 2 reps left in reserve. So one set of 7 at 2 rear would be something like a movement you could get for 9 reps if you really maxed it out. So in fact, you're leaving 2 reps in reserve. After you've done your 3x7, you drop it and do 1 max rep set with 50%. So let's say, for simplicity's sake, you used 100 pounds for your seated press, which would be really impressive, but then you would use 50% of that, or 50 pounds, for the max rep set. You take a little break there if you'd like, and then move into your WOD. This WOD is 7 rounds of a dumbbell snatch, burpees, and then run 400. You're going to then rest 2 minutes after the 400-meter run. This is interval work. This is important because it allows you to run at faster paces and work at a higher work rate than you normally would during your race. So this allows your body to acclimatize itself to working at that level. Tuesday is a long zone 2 work only, using that nasal breathing as we mentioned before. Wednesday, you've got weighted dips, which are one of my favorite movements. And then you've got another WOD, which is a 16-minute AMRAP of sled work with pushes and pulls, and then running and rowing 1K. We'll finish that up with a 10-minute walk. Friday, strength work. We've got a back squat to 2 rear and then 2 drop sets. Push press is the same thing. Now this is an example. I moved to a push press from a strict press because this is closer to what you're going to use in the actual event. There are no strict movements in a Hyrox race. Push press is a lot closer to a wall ball, so getting that power transfer from legs to arms, and then also some strength as well, is really what the push press is designed to do. Rest 5 minutes, and then we're looking at a WOD, where I like these kind of WODs that are 100 wall balls for time, just like the last piece of the Hyrox event, but every time you put that wall ball down, you have to do 500 meters on the ski erg. I know you hate me, but it'll really work. It's a good workout. Last one for this week is a zone 2 5 run with a longer 55-minute run for zone 2, and then 10 minutes zone 5 at max effort. Just like in cycle 1, weeks 6 and 7 build up in volume and intensity. Week 7, as you can see on the screen, is no joke. It's quite a long running week, and it's a lot of volume for your lifts as well. And I fully expect that you are going to feel rough. You're going to feel a little beat up, some niggling movements, and you might need to warm up a little more, maybe increase your calories a little bit. But these difficult weeks are really what are required to make sure that you make progress. Be smart. Don't injure yourself. If you've really got a problem that you can't work through, take an extra rest day, as I mentioned, or maybe go get that checked out by a professional. But it's okay to feel not your best. You might find that even though you don't feel your best, you actually perform pretty well. But you got to have these kind of overreaching weeks before you can really build up your performance in the long term. So week 7 is actually your top week for this whole 8-week program. And then if you look at week 8, you'll find that it actually is quite a reduction in training volume. We've gotten rid of a lot of the back off sets. So, you're going to see things like just a set of 5 for the dumbbell press. The WODs are, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most. And this week is really designed to allow you to recover. It's about, a good 30 to 50% reduction in volume. It's just enough that your body doesn't completely have anything to do or recover from, but it really does help you out. Now that we've reviewed the 8-week program for Hyrox athletes, let's talk a little bit about some race advice I would give to you. The first thing is make sure you eat a high-carb diet the day prior to your race. Research shows that this can boost your performance about up to 10%. I've linked to the article where I discuss that bit of research in the article below. So check that out. And secondly, I would recommend, as a practical matter, make sure you're showing up early so you don't have to feel stressed out and rushed about parking and checking in and all this kind of stuff. Get there so you can find out where you need to be. You have time to warm up and do that kind of stuff. As far as your warm up, just do some easy zone 2 work, whether that's on a bicycle, a rower, jogging, and just some common movement patterns that you're going to use. If you have some weights to warm up, I would recommend a few weighted lunges, maybe a sled to practice on with light weight. Don't do too much. Ideally, you want to have like a light sweat and have your heart rate be back down to around resting before you're ready to go. You don't need to do too much. And then also, I'd like you to work out your hydration plan before you actually get to race day. Now, if you looked at week 7, you know there's half Hyrox race planned on 2 of the days. So this would be a good time to figure that out, where you want to stage your water, how much you think you should drink. You don't want to have too much water in your stomach while you're doing this, of course. That's no good, but you also don't want to have completely parched the whole time. So that would be the time to figure out those kind of details. And my final thoughts on this are, this program is great for someone who's already got some fitness and they want to try something new and they want to do well on a Hyrox event. But 8 weeks, let's be realistic, folks, is 2 months more or less. That's not enough time to build serious fitness, whether that's strength or aerobic capacity. If you really want to do that, I would recommend you check out some of the links I'll put below. I've got a 36-week hybrid training series, and it sequences my most popular hybrid programs where you're running, you're lifting, you're doing some functional fitness workouts. Those are going to help you build the base of fitness you need to really get good at any kind of hybrid training, whether that's a Hyrox event or a CrossFit competition or whatever. But those have a lot of conditioning, a lot of functional fitness movements and things like that. Check those out below, and I would recommend trying that 36-week series. It will give you plenty to go, or plenty of programming, and you can really build overall strength up, because at the end of the day, even though this Hyrox event is very aerobically driven and strength may not be your first thought, you do need a big base of strength to do well on those mini workouts. That is part of what helps you have good muscular endurance, and it just takes time to build up your aerobic capacity as well. You can't do that in 8 weeks alone. This program is going to get you to do the best with what you currently have and push your fitness up a little bit, but those longer programming series or programs are going to help you take your fitness in the long term the way you want to take it. If you have any comments or questions, put them below, and don't forget you can join the email list, and I'll link to that below as well, so you can get these emailed directly to you as soon as they're released. If you like this kind of fitness program, or you want to see more like this, let me know in the comments, and then don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.